Hi, all. This is September Smith here with Dr. Pam Perry, one of my favorite guests who's going to be a speaker at the Breakthrough with Media Summit. I want to tell you a little bit about the Breakthrough with Media Summit in case you haven't heard me talking about it. I'm going to be hosting this, and this is coming up on June the 14th to the 16th. This is going to be a live 3-day virtual event for entrepreneurs, authors, and change makers, coaches. We are gathering 20 industry experts, Dr. Perry amongst them, to bring all of their expert knowledge and strategy under one virtual roof to help you start leveling up your business, your positioning, and my hope is your life with publicity, PR, paid public speaking, and media exposure, like appearances on television, podcasts, radio, magazines, everything that you need to be playing a much bigger game. And as I said today, I'm talking with Dr. Pam Perry of Pam Perry PR. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
Hey, thank you, September. Thanks for having me. I'm excited. This is my favorite subject about getting through and breaking through and going to the next level. It's like this is what people have to do.
Absolutely.
And I'm just excited. Just thank you so much for having me.
Oh, no, you are the person. When I looked at your background and I caught you on different lives and in Clubhouse and uh, some of your videos and your content and looked at your background, you've got 30 years. You started out in journalism, then you went
Mhm,
into publicity and PR, and now you're a publisher, but you
mhm,
keep involved in all those things, changing people's positioning, their business through
yeah.
these tools.
And you know what, September, so think about it. So did it 30 years ago. Obviously, there was no internet and all of that. And then really like at about 40 2000, in the year 2000, the internet was really kind of like just getting started. 2005 and 2010, I said we're going to do PR 2.0, meaning that it is all about really leveraging traditional media with the new media. And people were like,
Mhm.
"What are you talking about?" And I was like, "Now we're like web 3.0, right?" So but basically keeping up with those trends. The next big thing will be like NFTs and that whole metaverse and everything. But right now, you've got to keep up with it. If I were just starting today,
Mhm.
I would be so confused with all of the online internet stuff. What hasn't changed is traditional media,
Mhm.
radio, TV, and print, right? Those are the things. Broadcast and print, that will not change. We're
Yeah.
always going to have that. So I always tell people to start really learning about how to really approach and pitch and get that footprint first. Then do the TikToks and the Clubhouse and the
Yeah.
restream. All that.
Yeah.
It's like,
Well,
it's
you
like,
said something to me that really, really kind of like the penny dropped on that. Simplest of comments, you said, media is media. Social media is an amplifier. And that for me was just this great clarifier. Social media is the amplifier. If
mhm,
you don't have amazing, big content that really reflects well on you with that third party endorsement you get from being on television, radio, in
yes.
magazines, where someone else has said, hey, listen to them. If you're not putting that kind of content on social media, then you're amplifying what? Not a lot.
You're screaming in the middle of the street.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, you're saying, "I'm great," as opposed to, "They think I'm great."
Exactly. That matters so much. People do not understand. You're vetted. A journalist vets you, an editor vets you, a producer vets you so that you can then tell the story versus like I'm just going to open up my computer and type whatever I want. People
Mhm.
know that people can lie. So a
Yes.
journalist has to do some fact checking. So that's why I always tell people start with that first. If you're a subject matter expert, show your expertise and then really become a resource or a source for the media. Become a source for them.
And you've been doing that for decades. Now, I personally think that having had that pre-internet experience underneath you as the foundation, so you had that solid understanding of that, and then to see how this would play on top of that is a huge benefit for anybody that would be working with you.
It is. It's
So
an amplifier. It really is. And I tell people, I said, when we write releases before we used to write them and we would send them individually, and you still can, but oh my God, when it became like you can put things on the wire and it can go to journalists directly from the wire, a lot of publicists got lazy, but you still have to really do individual outreach. But it is a quicker way to do things now. No doubt about it. No doubt about it.
So that's using the press releases.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So if you were working with the average client, obviously they come to you, you're just going to be like throwing all of your firepower at them, all your knowledge and experience. What are the elements that you would have to build into the campaign that you create for them that is going to get them that media exposure, press releases? What all goes into it?
So it's almost like a little formula that I call the ready, set, go, speak, right? Speaking meaning like this is where they're launched, right? So the ready phase is really understanding their story, understanding their why, their purpose. It's almost like that first phase is really more like I was talking with my colleague today. It's almost like brand therapy, right? You're pulling out their information so that when they are prodded and picked by the media, that their story is strong enough and it stands. Like, so
Yeah.
what is your why? No matter what angle people are going to pull you, you are true to your brand story. So that's the ready phase. And they have to know that inside and out, backwards and forwards. So we really take a lot of time really unearthing their experience, their expertise, their schooling, the connections, everything. I said, don't hide from your publicist. Tell them everything, right? It's like it's going to be a secret between you and I, but I need to know everything. Then the set phase is really all of the things that people really understand that they can see. Those are all the marketing materials. That's the press release. That's the bio. That's the photos. That's making sure their website is right. That's the set phase, making sure you have the foundation to making sure that when the media does come to, and say, okay, that you can send them immediately the press kit, the press release, the media alert, with the fact sheet, the bio, the short one, long, all just that whole piece right there probably takes the longest. That probably, I would say, probably 4 to 6 weeks really pulling together all the branding assets. The photo
Mm.
shoot alone, people are like, oh my God, I have photos. It's like, no, these aren't the right photos. So even like the website is in there. Even the set phase can be the book, if you're going to do an ebook or whatever, that whole piece right there. So that's the set phase. Ready, set, go. And so the go phase is really now we're pitching to the media. So you're creating the list. Who is the best fit for you to go in phase one? So you're not going to go into Time Magazine immediately. So what is the lowest hanging fruit? So we go with the local. We start with the local and we build. It's like a snowball. If you're in the wintertime, you start with a snowball and it rolls and rolls and gets bigger and bigger. So we start there. So we really figure out all the pitches for all the media, creating the media list, creating the hooks, and then it's wash, rinse, and repeat, because now you're on the stages, you're on the media places and that sort of thing. So that's really like the phase. But that first phase of just really knowing what it is why you're pitching it, and then really getting the assets together so it matches what you really want to be sharing. And then the go phase is like, okay, who is the best match to your message? Who is the best match to your message? Not where you want to be seen, but what's a match to your message? And does it fit? Is it relevant now? I always tell people, I said, is it relevant now? I said, so if you're like, I don't know, a health coach or something like that, maybe it's more relevant in January than it would be in the summer.
Oh, okay. That fine-tuned
Yeah.
down to
Yeah.
seasonal.
Yeah. Seasonal. If you're a relationship coach, obviously good time is February. That could, because it's around Valentine's Day. So you look at different things like that and who you're going to pitch when. And then magazines have a longer lead time anyway. And a lot of magazines are 3 months out. So if we're looking at something, it's 3 months out. Newspapers, I love daily newspapers. You can always figure out an angle for a daily newspaper because they have a news hole to fill every day. You can even write. And so we even look at some things where they can write their own opinion editorials. Depending on what it is, they can be the thought leader that writes those opinion editorials.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you can even take some of your blogs and repurpose them. And those can be articles for different magazines. And you won't get paid, but you are really sharing your expertise. And then you can say, as seen in
Mhm,
whatever the
mhm.
magazine is, Success Magazine, and you have an article in there. And that's good. I mean, sometimes I tell people you're waiting for, especially for print, you're waiting for print to interview you. I said, but pitch something that you can write for them. And you are the person. It can be like a first person account, or you can actually gather the experts and then present an article to a magazine. And I said that's a great way for you to really talk with the influencers in your field. You get 3 or 4 different sources for the article, and you write the article. And that saves the magazine a lot of time. And if it's
Yes.
really good, you might have a regular spot.
Now that's something to shoot for. Is that
Mhm.
something that you can kind of queue up your clients to do?
Yeah.
Kind of like, hey, I know if you write for them, they're looking for somebody like you.
Yes, exactly. A lot of them, especially for daily newspapers, they are looking for people who will write regular columns for them. And the weeklies for sure, especially if it's weekly in your area, they will, if it's good, they will have you write something. Well, can you write something every week? And then it's like, well, I can only do it once a month. Because if it's really good, they'll want your voice. And it's not just within your community, it's also online. So now it's in the community, it starts, but then it's also in line. I have one client, Rosalind, and she writes all the time now for the Tallahassee, I think it's a Democrat. And it's every single month. They really wanted her to write every single week, but she could do 1 month. And so it's on actually in the physical newspaper, but it's actually online. So now she shares her content out to her social media, right? Because it's in the newspaper, people know her, she's a local celebrity, it's online, so people can Google her name and find her online, and then they can share that particular story, that article out.
So was she a local celebrity before she started doing this?
She was not, I mean, she had a business. Obviously,
Yeah.
she was a
Yeah.
business, but not like she is now.
So
No,
this kind
now
of like lifted her up out of the
exactly.
fray of all the other businesses, the lookalike businesses, and now she's that one with that. So to the
She's a voice
idea of
she's a voice of hope, basically. That's her thing. She had a nonprofit, so now she's a voice of hope. So people come to her nonprofit, and then part of her business is that people are giving donations, or she does fundraising. So it's easy for her to do fundraising because she now is known.
yes, yeah, and there's the trust factor there too. While you
Yeah,
write for the Tallahassee Democrat, think it
yeah,
was that you write for that outlet, you must be okay. It's almost like the
yes,
stamp of approval.
yes. You're a regular columnist. Yes, exactly. And they could have
So
picked anybody, but hers
yes,
was good.
and
Mhm.
they're also going to pick somebody that is ready and has that press kit and has all that material right there. They're easier to work with. So when, as you say, when
Mhm.
you know what it is you're talking about, what you want to be known for, and you've got all those brand assets ready.
Yeah, September, you said it right there. Someone who is easier to work with, someone that you don't have to keep going back and says, "Well, you sent it. Can you send it to me in a higher resolution? Oh, you sent it. Can you put it in a Word document and not in a PDF?" Someone who just knows what the media likes, and the media doesn't have to keep going back and forth with you.
So
Those are the people they're going to work with.
So of course you line your clients up for that kind of thing. It's like, this
Mhm.
is what we need. Here are all the different formats of your picture, and these are the ones we're going to use, not that one.
Yes,
So
yes.
when you were talking about the difference between the magazine, getting yourself published and or featured in the magazine versus the newspaper, you said the newspaper is great because every day they're looking, but it has a much shorter shelf life. What can somebody do when they get that media, which can be really like a big deal if it's one of the bigger outlets, but it's so
Mhm.
short lived? What can you do to kind of keep that alive, to leverage that media that you get from, say, a newspaper?
Well, one of the things that I remember Arian Simone did this, and she was she actually was in the newspaper, so she went, and Megan as well. They went and actually did a video with the newspaper, reading the newspaper, holding it up, showing the people going to the stand, just that whole behind the scenes thing, like, "Oh, mom, look at me," that kind of thing. So that was kind of cool. So people were like, "Oh my God, you're in there." So then they put the link to it because it's online. It's like, "I want to get a copy." Well, here's the link. Right. So that's one thing. But it was so cute. I think it's still on my Instagram, where we're actually holding it, and we're actually, just like celebrating the fact that she's in there. And then they all have links, right? So that you can put the link in there. You could share that across social media. Definitely put the logo into your EPK, your electronic press kit. Put it on your website at CNN. I mean, it's just a whole lot of different things that people can do. But once you have that one legitimate hit, it's nothing like it. I mean, media begets media.
Yeah, I love that phrase. Yeah, it's
Mhm,
true.
mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
Yeah, once people kinda get a taste of you, if it's a really great showing, they're gonna want more, and they're gonna be like, "Oh, I should have her on my show," or, "Oh, I should invite her to be in my magazine or
Or I could do a better story because the media is kind of they're competitive with each other. It's like I can outshoot
oh.
them.
Now, is that something that people can use in their PR campaign? Is that something you help people with, or is that luck of the draw?
No, no, no. That's something I help people with. That is definitely for sure. Because if someone is, say, on CNBC, then definitely, you're on a bigger platform. So now when you go and approach any other type of network, they want to see what you look like and sound like. Not on a local moco kind of a thing, but like, oh my God. Okay, so they do have some clips, they are polished, they are prepared, and so you go up from there. And Nicole Roberts Jones, she was always on like a lot of local television things like that, but when she got on CNBC, it's like that's the pass. Like, okay, she can be on anything. We can pitch her to CNN. We can pitch her to just about any other local. Like she's going to be in Atlanta next week. And so we pitched her to a national radio station that is also video. So, of course, it's not a problem because she's been on CNBC. So it's like, that they're ready, that they were prepared. But it took a while for her to get to that point. And she had the assets and everything, and it was timing. But now it's like, if she's there, then other stations are like, okay, she's good. She's good.
So, yeah, figure out your strategy and your campaign that's going to get you from
Mm-hmm.
where you are. And I like that you're bringing out that, you start at the first step. You're not going to leap right up to, the New York Times or Good
Yeah.
Morning America, but, you're shooting for this, and then you leverage that. Don't just leave it sitting there, and get the next step and the next step. So
And
how long would this take in your experience?
yeah,
When
that's what.
somebody is working for this, how long does it take to start kind of moving the needle?
And so I had someone the other day. They have a book coming out in, say, September. Your mom. Your name. So they basically are like, I want to be in Teen Vogue. I want to be in Essence. I want to be in this and this. It's like, okay, this is right now. We've got June and going into the middle of June. We don't even have a release yet. So now you got July and August, and your book comes out in September, and you want everything to hit. And I always tell people at least 6 months working with your publicist. One, because that first phase of the ready phase, like really getting you ready. And it's like, well, I don't need media coaching. It's more than media coaching. I need to pull out all the things like around 360 about what it is about you, things that you can leverage that you may not thought of. But as a publicist, I know that we can leverage these things. These are so that when we go right out the gate, bam, these are the things that we're going to hit right away. Instead of thinking like, oh, I want to get in Essence, I want to get in Teen Vogue. There's some other things that in the ready phase, when I'm interviewing you and really pulling out all the things that you're connected with, my connections and your connections, what that looks like. Then we get to the set phase. Basically, it's just like, okay, now let's pull out all of the materials so that everything is fine. You have one photo, so we're going to use that one photo over everything. What if the magazine wants to put you on a cover of something, or it's the same photo all the time? I said, so we need different branding assets that we need to pull together. And then when we go the go phase, it's like, okay, we make a list of media connections. Yes, I do have media connections, but what was a good fit for her? So we may brainstorm maybe 200 or 300 different media outlets that we will say that we will shoot for. You may not get all 200 or 300 by September, but you are planting the seeds, and those seeds can germinate between 6 months to 18 months. You will be really surprised. Some of the press releases, we put things on the wire, they don't hit right away, but months later, when that producer or that editor wants it, they're going to want it when they want it, and then they're going to call you, and that may be 6 months later. And that happened a lot with Juanita Rasmus. I mean, we put out a release for her, I believe it was in February. She didn't get a hit onto a big station until like September. Okay, so it just takes that long. Of course, the information was sent out there, but it's the news cycles of different things that people also look at as well. It's not well, my book is released in September, so I want it to be out then. It doesn't matter. It's not.
And I was thinking also, I mean, if a book, for example, in this case, the book is coming out in September, you're going to want your, a big swell of your media and attention at that time. But you're going to want to keep selling that book. And
Yeah.
Christmas is coming 3 months later, and you probably want people buying the book at Christmas. So a few later dropping and building
Yes.
pieces of media exposure is a good thing, especially
And
for a book.
yeah, and a publicist is always trying to find different angles for the media that is on that list. So a lot of it has to do with timing. A lot of it has to do with what's going on in the news. A lot of it could be the fact that maybe if they were in this particular outlet and they had that angle, then you share with, say, something that was in print, then you share it to someone that's in radio. Or something that was in radio, then you share it to someone in TV. So whatever your hit is, you're keeping the door open and having conversations all the time. It's not like one and done. I put out a press release. Okay, we're good. No, you're constantly pitching. And
Something to
that's the
happen.
energy that people really don't understand that publicists do. That's what I do. It's not like, oh, okay, well, she just pitched me one time. No, it's continual. It is continual. It's relationships. It's public relations is really the key word. It's relationship. So that's really part of it, not just the publicity.
So, I mean, in a way, this is both fascinating, but it's also complex. Like just the small amount we've talked about today makes it quite clear all the moving pieces that are involved in this. So, if a business was thinking, maybe this is more than I can handle, what's the payoff? What happens actually? What's the difference that it can make to your business to get that exposure?
That it's I call it like attraction marketing. So you can push, and then try to really get business, or business can come to you because you are a brand. When someone is a brand, it positions you, it establishes you, it gives you credibility, visibility and credibility. The know, like, and trust factor is shortened. That sales cycle for them to buy from you is shortened because you have put your name out there enough where people like you, trust you, know you. You have a certain brand in their mind, that you're positioned differently. And that's all because of the media really shaping that narrative for you. Now you can do advertising, traditional advertising, Facebook advertising. I mean, that's all fine. But there's something about when it's actually in the media and you're spoken about in a different light than a Facebook ad. I mean, I can look at a Facebook ad, but then I'll probably Google a person too to see what else has been said.
Absolutely, and LinkedIn. Yes, yeah. There's we've all developed as social media users. We've all developed a bit of an immunity to ads.
Advertising.
I mean, they're now within your Facebook feed. If you're talking about Facebook, it's every fourth post in there is an ad, and we're trained seriously every fourth one. So 3 of something that might be of interest, and then something that somebody's selling you. We are trained to just keep
Ignore it.
scrolling. Yeah, and Facebook advertising has really, really lost its ROI over the last number of years. Some people would say it is tanked. So yeah, having that earned media where somebody is saying, an authoritative outlet like a newspaper or a television show or an authoritative podcast, this person is what she says she is. This person's amazing. Yeah, the know, like, and trust. Okay.
That's it.
And nobody is going to say, I saw it in a Facebook post, I believe it, as opposed to I saw it on TV, it must be so.
No, they're not going to say it. I saw it on Facebook and I believe it. No, definitely not that. Or on Twitter. No, it is something that is vetted by journalists. And there are advertorials, like Speakers Magazine has because I'm a publicist, I created the magazine to be that advertorial, right? It's like an advertorial, meaning that these are my clients that are on the cover, but it positions them, because I send this out to the media, it positions them as an authority. Why? Because for African Americans, a lot of times we weren't getting the coverage. We weren't getting as much coverage. So that's why we have the Black press, the Black radio, and those kind of things. So this is one of those things that I use for speakers to actually get out there and get known. Now, it is part of a package. It's not like you're paying for the cover. It's part of the package of the promotion. And I happen to send this out to the media, right? But I make sure that it's not just like anybody can get on the cover, right? It is part of a package. So I've been doing this for 5 years, and it really has taken a level of people for them to really get started. This was a young lady I was telling you that was on CNBC, right? So she just got on CNBC, but she started here. And so you got to start somewhere. And it's like, well, It's like a job. How do I get the experience for a job unless I get a job? It's like, well, you got to start somewhere. And so, depending on what your messaging is, I can help people decide where they need to start. And a lot of times, I have other friends that have magazines as well, Courageous Woman or Hope for Women magazine. I say, well, that's where we need to start. You're a Christian speaker. You need to be in those type of magazines, and you can find a niche. And sometimes you do have to do an advertorial in there, but that's fine. At least you're seen in that particular light. It's where you start, and then you can leverage that to something else and to something else. But you got to start somewhere. No one starts at the top. No one starts at the top,
No.
unless you get something like a viral video or something like that. I don't know. I remember a man that was on Good Morning America. He was I want to say he was a homeless man that had a great voice.
Yeah.
And he was known as the golden voice, and he had a great voice. And so the reporter from Good Morning America heard him and brought him on to the show. Now, he went from homeless to Good Morning America. What do you think happened in between that time? He got a whole lot of contracts and things like that. But the reason why he was homeless is because he was a substance abuser, and he didn't have that prep phase. Like, he didn't have the prep phase. So he started here, but immediately fell down because there was nothing in between to really prep him. And he didn't have an agent or a publicist to really kind of help him. He was overwhelmed.
Yes.
And he had a great voice. He still has a great voice, but he ended up just coming out of the limelight because it was just too much. So you have to be ready for the shine when it comes.
Yeah.
Not just someone that's homeless, but anyone, to be ready for the shine, because immediately once I start putting you out there, you've got to be ready for the shine. You can't, if people start to recognize you or come up to you, some people can't handle that. It's like, oh my God, you're a celebrity. And then some people don't know how to handle that. Some people do, but it is a finesse that I find. Sometimes I say it with some of my clients. It's like, oh my goodness, I feel like Frankenstein, like I've created a monster. It's
In a
like
good
this
way?
press has gone to their head. It's like, oh my God.
Oh.
I look back and I said, don't believe the hype all the time on your press now. Really, don't believe the hype. You're still the
So
same person.
that's part of the prep as well, is knowing kind of what to expect and also how to keep your head in proportions
Yes,
when
keep
things
your
go
head in
big.
proportion. It's just press. It is don't believe. A publicist will say to each other, it's like they believe in their own press, girl. They believe in their own press. It's like don't do that. Don't believe your own press. So
But if it is that strong that it is convincing them, I mean, not to say that your press is all, BS and not to be believed, but if it's changing their perception of themselves and of their business, what is it going to do to the wider audience that is now seeing them from these bigger, more elevated stages? That is so impactful.
That is so. Yes, if it changes their impression of themselves seeing it, imagine what it can do for your potential customers and clients. That is so true. So yeah, it is a whole positioning. It's really amazing. It really is. When someone sees yourself on a billboard, like, oh my God, it's a whole
Who is
other
that
way
good-looking person?
that they just really freak out. That's why people are so addicted to social media, though. The dopamine that they get from it.
Oh. Oh. Yet it's not really doing a whole lot for you.
It's just like I just see myself, and it's just really like, oh my God. And some people, when they wake up in the morning, how many likes did I get on my social media? It's a dopamine, like, oh, I gotta get it. And I have this whole thing September that I talk about ego marketing. It's like you've got to remove your ego from your marketing, okay? Because it can be dangerous. It really can. It can be dangerous. You do not want your ego entangled in your marketing, because then you'll be thinking it's all about you and the likes, and it can be a mess, and you don't sell anything, but you're just basically it's feeding your ego, or what I call, like, if you lack self-esteem, you're always going to be thinking that this media has to be the end all be all. The social media is the end all be all, and it's not. It's just social media. It's not.
As you
What
say, it's
were
just
you
an
doing before?
amplifier.
Yeah.
And if all you're doing is like posting stuff about yourself, the ego-based kind of marketing, then it's amplifying ego-based marketing, which, that's not going to end well.
But
Not a lot of people
feeds
buy
their
that.
ego. Yeah, it
Yeah.
feeds their ego.
Wow.
They spend hours and hours and hours in Canva creating pretty pictures.
That is one of the things that hours and hours and hours in content creation, that grind that so many entrepreneurs are just on this treadmill feeding social media, the demands of social media, give me more content. You didn't go into business to be doing that.
No, no.
You've got a gift, you've got a skill, you've got a service that you want to be finding clients for, that clients need you for. Stop playing with, I mean, not if you like Canva, play in Canva, whatever, but stop with all that social media grind. Get up there, get seen on the bigger stages and the
Yes.
pages, and then reflect that back. And how much time did you spend on that?
Right.
Not nearly as much as that
Yeah.
content creation grind. And that's why I put together the Breakthrough with Media Summit.
Mhm.
That was the full reason, because
I love
I
it.
mean, quite personally, it really freaks me out that in the last 2 years, in women alone, there are 5.4 million American women whose jobs disappeared and never came back. And a lot of those 5.4 million women have ended up in online business.
Mm.
And they are trying to figure it out as an online business person, as an online consultant, trying to figure out how to market, how to sell. And they're at the same time, social media's marketing ability is just imploding, and
Mhm.
they're drowning in this mess over here. It's like, girl, no, or guy, get out of that, brush yourself off, and get on that stage, get on that camera, get on that show, learn
Yes.
how to do it, do all the prep, find an
Mhm.
expert that can help you with all the prep.
Mhm. Mhm.
I'm not
That is
saying it's
true.
not dignified to be doing the grind over in social media, but is
But
that
a
what you were in
rise
business
yeah,
for?
rise above the fray, like you said, rise above the fray, get into real traditional media. It does take a little bit more finesse to know how to do it, but if it were easy, everybody would be doing it. That's why
Mhm.
social media is that first barrier, and everybody's, I call it, just running out there screaming in the street. It's like, oh my God, why don't we take that energy, work with someone that can help you craft a press release, craft a pitch, find the media contacts, learn how to do it, wash, rinse, and repeat, and get in regular media. People say, well, how often should I get in media? I said, well, you could at least pitch yourself to a podcast at least once a week, and you can be on a podcast at least once a week. Be on another platform that has more that shows your expertise. That's all we're doing. We're really showcasing your expertise. So,
Yep.
radio, if you do a podcast, and you can do your local radio station, every market probably has a 24-hour news station. So there's probably, if you listen to it, you probably can find that reporter and online somewhere, Twitter probably, and then say, hey, here's a podcast I was just on. I would love to be on your show. I would love to be on your station. This is what
I've
I can
actually
talk
done that
about.
with clients,
Yeah.
taken really authoritative episodes that they're on, get really good traction and downloads with it, and then go to the local radio station and say, "Excuse me, the entire nation, in fact, countries all over the world are hearing this story that's happening right here in our city. Why aren't you covering it?" And within 24 hours, they were sitting in a seat in a radio studio.
Yes, I love it. That's it. And that has
You couldn't do
so
that
much
if you had a
more
Facebook
power.
post.
No, no, no. Media has power, and it always will have power. It is one of the things that is the free press. It's the free press. This is our what we use to communicate, and it's very powerful. It shapes images. The journalists, they live by ethics. People who are on radio, TV, print, magazines, and that sort of thing, they have a more of a respectability factor that goes
Mhm,
along with what their messaging is. Not
mhm.
that social media or their blog posts aren't respectable, but there's just something better when you're breaking through to traditional media.
Well,
It really,
also social media is a two-way conversation, and that's by definition what it is. So you can put, even if you put out the most authoritative, respectful, dignified kind of post and content, you have some idiot in there arguing with you and saying ridiculous things, or somebody saying, "Yeah, but my grandmother's cat," and they're like, you're not in the right environment.
yes, that's true. You will not get that in traditional media. The reporter will not have that kind of ignorant talk with you.
No, absolutely, absolutely,
They're
yeah.
going to be respectful, and they know how to be a journalist. One of my favorite journalists is Kelly Wright. I love Kelly Wright. He was on the Black News Channel, and he is amazing. And I tell him all the time, whenever I will book clients with him, and my clients, they were like, wow, he was really good. I said, that's what journalists do. I mean, like, they bring it. They bring out the things that you didn't even think about. I said, but you were ready. I said, but yeah, he's good. I said, he didn't get, he's just a seasoned journalist. And seasoned journalists are really good at what they do. And you will find the story that they pull out of you is just amazing. You can't, you couldn't say it in a blog. You'd have to have journalists to see it with their eyes. And that's where the whole media thing is really, really important. It really is.
They can get that message out to the world the way
Mm-hmm.
you want, the way you need the world to see you and your business.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, Pam, listen, I'm going to wrap this up because I've already grabbed 35 minutes of your time. Thank you so much for being here. And also, thank you so much for being a part of the Breakthrough with Media Summit. I'm just so
I
excited
love
to
and
bring your knowledge and your expertise and all your insights into this very
oh,
thing.
well, thank you for having me. And the people that you lined up, I'm fanning all over them. They are excellent. They are, you got Roz in there, you've got Jane in there. There's just so many different people in there. I was like, oh, these are real. It's a good lineup. So thank you so much for selecting the people that you did. I'm excited to hear them myself.
Well, thank you very much. I've actually had another one of the speakers just tell me this morning, oh, I'm coming for the entire time. Because
Yep.
there's the 3 days that are open for public, but there's a fourth day, a whole other fourth day for the people who buy the all access pass, where it's going to be panel discussions with the experts. And for each one of the panel discussions, we're actually going to have one lucky person be in the hot seat to have them put their eyes on that person and give their
Wow.
input for what it is that they want to
That's
do with
cool.
media or speaking. So yeah, I am just so excited. And as I said, I'm so appreciative of you being part of this. Just you bring
Thank
so
you.
much to it.
Thank
All
you.
right. Well, I will see you at the summit. And in the meantime, take care. And thanks so much for being here.
All righty. Thank you, September. Bye.
Bye.